few things are more important when maintaining and using your aura than keeping it perfectly clean, because a dirty aura seems to be the core of many of the issues that people are having. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the technique I use to clean mine. And to do that, I'm going to need these two things. So these lens wipes, this specific brand, in fact, this is the brand that Glowforge recommends, and then some Lysol wipes. You can also use a lint-free cloth plus some alcohol, but just having this on hand ready to grab is super easy. So this is my go-to, my preferred way. So let's start with the Lysol wipes. So first, what I recommend doing is lifting the crumb tray out and then vacuuming the inside. So let me do that real quick. To vacuum the inside, you don't need anything special. I've got my trusty vacuum with just kind of like one of the attachments on, and I'm just gonna go ahead and vacuum everything up. And slide this out of the way so we can vacuum back there as well. Now, once that's vacuumed up, I like to just wipe, truthfully, everything short of the camera lens and the laser, of course. So I like to kind of work my way up, right? So our crumb tray is out. It's very easy to get to everything. So let's just give everything a nice wipe down. And it is going to be very scary what comes up. And this is nowhere near the most dirty my machine has ever been. So it's kind of scary. All right, so under the crumb tray is in pretty good shape now, but obviously these areas here are starting to stain from all the soot, so this doesn't really impact performance, but at some point the machine is going to look horrible. So I just give them a quick wipe down, and then back here as well. So if you're looking for like the 2-second clean, this kind of step, these other white areas are not necessarily required, but I like to do it. It only takes a second. All right, so the required part is cleaning down here, really. And then the next required part is going to be these rails on the side. So let me move the camera so you can get a better look at those. All right, so these little rails here that kind of have, I would call them teeth, are the next thing that you are gonna have to clean. And the reason why this part is so key is that as it goes back and forth, I can actually feel it right now. I doubt you can see it, but I can feel as I'm going back and forth, it's catching on some areas. And that, if you were doing a big cut, is 100% going to cause your laser to kind of like jump. And that's either going to cause it to not fully cut through, probably in a best case scenario. Worst case scenario is it's going to jump and then it's going to continue cutting from a different spot. So this first rack is pretty dirty now. Let's grab a new one. And I'm going to experiment with a few different ways to cut the teeth, to clean the teeth soon. Right now, the easiest thing I find is honestly to just kind of bunch it up and then really run back and forth. And you can already see how much cleaner that is looking. So do it a whole bunch of times. Don't just do it once, because part of why it looks so much cleaner, honestly, is because the bleach or whatever it is, the Clorox on there, it bubbles and it looks white. So definitely do it a bunch of times. Some of the things I want to tinker with and see if it's effective and safe is to maybe wrap this like around a toothbrush and then go back and forth. But I can't speak to how safe that is right now for your aura and how effective it is. I'm not going to recommend it, but know that I am going to test a few ways to clean this better. Now, you're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to do the same on the other end. Here. And just clean that side. Okay, so those are looking much cleaner already. Now the next thing we need to work on is the metal rails. Let me move the camera again. All right, now the metal rails are next, and you might actually be able to see just how dirty they are. There's a few techniques here to keep in mind. So we want to clean the tops of the rails, obviously, and the sides. You want to get underneath and clean that part as well. The other part is, and let me move the camera for a second so you can see what I mean. So there are these little kind of holes here that the rail goes through as you move it back and forth. I don't know this for sure, but I have a theory that dirt gets inside of here. So it's key to move this back and forth so that any dirt that's inside kind of gets redeposited back on the rails, and then you can clean them. We can't get in there to clean it, but we can kind of move it around while the rails are wet and just kind of like pull off any gunk that might be inside and then clean that. So let me show you how I do that. All right, so for starters, we are just going to clean the top of the rails. Very simple, just kind of wrap it around and go back and forth. Let's move this all the way to the end so we can get as much as possible. You can already see how dirty that was. And like I said, this is by no means the most dirty my machine has been, but I got that little pop-up that said it's time to clean your machine, so here we are. I'm going to be good this time and clean it before I have a failed print. All right, so clean that part. It feels pretty good. Now I'm going to slide it to the other side and clean over here where the laser was. All right, now I know I haven't cleaned the underside yet, but I'm just going to slide it back and forth, and I absolutely feel jumping. So let's get the underside real quick, and I usually just go kind of back and forth like this, pulling up on each side and just kind of really getting it nice and clean. And I'm going to do the same on the other one. So I'm just feeding it over that black thing and then kind of going back and forth. You'll see maybe some kind of like soapy residue. Don't worry too much about that. We can just kind of wipe back and forth. All right, now let's see if this is better. So definitely like right around here, it is absolutely skipping. So while this is wet, I'm just going to go back and forth a bunch of times. And then we're going to clean it again. I'm going to take a new rag. And just clean really, really well again. Now I will say it's funny because I have done this before and my machine looked perfect, and then I still had issues, and I think what had happened was, like I said, I think that there was just dirt inside of, I don't know what it's called, maybe the carriage for the laser head, what the laser head sits on. And I noticed after I tried moving it back and forth again that it was still skipping. So this part is really key, to just keep moving the laser back and forth until you feel like it is really nice and clean and you don't feel any skipping or tugging or anything like that as you go back and forth. All right, now let's see if that's better. And that is already feeling much better. It feels a little tight over here still. Let's just do that and see. It should really easily just glide back and forth, and now it does. So now we're good. So like I said, it's key to not just kind of wipe them once and then figure you're done. move the laser head side to side and make sure that you're good. Now, the next thing I will say, this is not on the Glowforge website, so do this at your own risk and do it very carefully. But I do like to lift the laser head. Again, the laser is off. I like to lift the laser head and just kind of check in there and make sure that nothing is on those little magnets. Because if your laser is not connected really well, then you run the risk of it not working properly. So make sure you know that it is hooked on there nice and good, that your laser is where it should be, and then just do kind of a quick moving it back and forth and making sure everything is nice and lined up. So we've got most of it done. Now the next thing to do is clean our crumb tray. So just for the sake of this video, I'm going to do it while it's in the machine so you guys can see it better. But typically I would do this somewhere else, and you're really just going to rub it with your cloth and try to get all that grime off. And while I'm on the subject of the dirty crumb tray, if you're ever working with something and your crumb tray is dirty and you're worried about it making your project dirty, an option is to put a sheet of cardstock or something on top of the crumb tray, or even like a thin sheet of printer paper. Put it on top of the crumb tray and then put your material on top of that, just so you have something in between your dirty crumb tray and the material you're intentionally cutting. All right, I'm not going to do this necessarily as well as I normally would, so you don't have to sit here and watch the whole thing. Maybe fast forward. Here we go. So you can see it really doesn't take that long. This is what I would consider kind of a deeper clean. If you like cleaning every time after you do a big project, you probably don't need to do it quite this thoroughly. But I wanted to show you my process. All right, so we are nearly done. We've cleaned the plastic rails, the metal rails, the crumb tray, we've vacuumed, we've made sure that the laser's on good, we've made sure that the alignment is good. The last thing to do is going to be to clean the Aura lens. Let me show you how I do that. All right, so this portion here is the last part we need to clean. Try to never touch it. We are going to be working with this one, and just take one sheet out. You're only going to need one. And then what I like to do is try my best not to touch the area with my finger that I'm going to be putting on the lens. So just kind of rip it open, grab the edge, and then just try to very lightly wipe on it. So as you can see, the area that I'm wiping, I'm never really touching that area, so I'm not going to be getting fingerprints anywhere. All right, so that's nice and clean. Now I can open it up, and I'm just going to use the same one because why not, and just clean the lid. This is not key to performance as much as I'm just trying to keep my precious machine nice and clean as much as I can, and just kind of wipe it down. And that's it. That's all you got to do. So remember, shut it off, clean the plastic, the metal rails, the crumb tray, vacuum, and the lens, the camera lens. And then kind of an extra step, if you so choose, obviously at your own risk, is make sure that the lens is on, that the laser is on there correctly, and also definitely check alignment, and just why not, it's open, you're working with it, just check the alignment, make sure everything's good. And now we're good to plug it in and go ahead and start cutting and printing some more. Hopefully you found this useful. If you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer.